Hi. I'm very sorry that I'm not here in class today, but what you do get is virtual Miss Barbary, which is only slightly worse than normal Miss Barbary. So I hope that you enjoy this little presentation and a mix of videos and cool stuff. What I'm going to talk about today is a little bit on plants to just catch up the bee blockers because they missed a little bit of stuff last week. And then we'll get into some of the information that you guys saw over the weekend about fungi as well. But the first thing I want to do is just give B-Block some of the information that they missed. So if you're an E-Block student, you don't even need to watch this. You can fast forward me. You can just go on to the next little section of this Prezi. You don't even have to watch this video of me. It's so exciting. If you want to though, or if you feel like you need a little refresher, this might be a nice thing to actually view so you maybe understand what's going on in class just a little bit better. Okay, so for you bee blockers, what we talked about last week is the switch from water to land. And the switch over was really challenging. Think about being a plant or being an algae that's living in water. Water is this amazingly supportive environment where you don't have to worry about getting nutrition. You don't have to worry about anchoring yourself because you're sort of just floating around. You don't have to worry about drying out because there's water everywhere. And you have all these really cool systems that are just coming from you, for you, because you live in water. The move to, oh, that was my refrigerator, I'm really sorry. The move to land was really challenging for a couple of reasons, and these are the problems that plants faced when they made this move to terrestrialization. The major problem was drying out, which is a word that we call desiccation. Another problem they faced was access to resources. In water, the whole plant can actually do photosynthesis. The whole plant can take in water. The whole plant has access to nutrients. So on land, those resources are located in very different locations. The third problem they faced was a support structure. Think about if you take seaweed, like those giant, huge, meters high kelp plants, or kelp protists, not plants, out of water. What happens to seaweed when you bring it up on land? It totally shrivels up and is like this little chunk of green. It's all gross and nasty. It's not standing up tall anymore. So plants with this move on to land face this huge problem of support systems. The fourth problem they faced was being able to reproduce. In water, algae have swimming sperm. All they do is release it into the water and it finds its way magically, one might say majestically, to another organism and allows it to reproduce. On land, you can't really do that because you don't have the same swimming ability that you had in water, so there's a problem. So plants had to combat that as well. And finally, plants had to face this problem of the desiccation, drying out, of their embryos. The most important thing about things that are alive is that they have to be able to reproduce. Plants had these nice little watery eggs and sperm that could wonderfully join together in the water. On land, you can't do that. Think about frog eggs or fish eggs. They're adapted to water. They don't really have a very hard shell. They have to constantly be fed by water. So we have these 5 major problems that plants faced when they were going through this process of terrestrialization. The move to land was huge, though. It allowed them to colonize this huge untapped area. And along with the fungi, they were really the first organisms to become fully terrestrial, which is a cool thing. The way that plants combated these problems, they did it, of course, in a couple different ways. And there's actually a page, you can look at the notes that were posted from last week, and I actually put some of the material, this material is located in those notes. So if you miss some of the words I'm saying, like lignin or stomata, you can go and look at the notes, and those definitions are right there, and those are posted on my ducks page under notes. So let's get into it. So these 5 solutions that plants came up with for their move onto land. The first problem that they had to combat was this problem of drying out. The way that they did this was by developing a waxy cuticle. It's this external layer on plants. It's why when you hear, it's really sort of hard to first snap a plant or to pick a plant. It's because you have to break through that waxy outer layer. and that's called the cuticle, and it actually helped retain water. The other thing that plants were able to do, they have gas regulation via pores on the underside of their leaf. So if this is a plant leaf that looks like this, there are a bunch of, if I turn it over, there are a bunch of little pores, little holes that are located all over the bottom of that leaf, which are called stomata. And those stomata can open it up and shut to let water, CO2, and oxygen in and out. It's a really good system. It helps the plant to save water because if there isn't a lot of water around, the plant can actually shut those stomata and make sure no water vapor even gets out, which is a good thing for the plant. So combating water loss, that was a huge one. Our second problem was that we have resources in the air and underground. So there's light and carbon dioxide in the air, but there's water and nutrients underground. So the plants had to develop a system to get water and nutrients from the soil, but also to get CO2 and sunlight from the air. So what they actually ended up doing is they sort of split their bodies. They developed a root system for accessing the underground things like water and minerals and nutrients. And they developed a shoot structure, which is like the stem and the leaves and all that good stuff, to access all of the things they needed from the air. So plants actually sort of split their biology into two sections, an underground and an above ground segment. And those again are called roots and shoots. Our third major problem, what was it? Our third major problem, I'm going to say, all right, well, I'm going to skip one because I'm forgetting what it is that you actually have to have reproduction on land. And I forgot. I remember. All right, support. We're going to do support first. So plants face this huge problem of support when they move onto land. Algae, of course, have no support system, so they just sort of float and exist underwater, and it's like all really nice and great. But on land, you can't do that. There's no water, there's no support system. Plants actually developed a couple things. First, they developed lignin in their cell walls. Again, that word is lignin, L-I-G-N-I-N. And what that did is it actually stiffened and toughened those little square-shaped cells. And it made it so the plants could stand upright. Many plants also developed a vascular system, which some of you learned about on Friday. Gymnosperms, ferns, and angiosperms all have a vascular system that also helps to support them and can actually bring fluids up from the ground and can bring nutrients and sugars down from the leaves where the photosynthesis happens. So they developed nice support structures that allowed them to grow really tall so they could actually reach that sunlight that they so desperately need. Now we'll get to reproduction. So we've solved 3 of our problems. Our next problem is on land, you can't use swimming sperm. It's just not possible unless you have internal fertilization like we do, which is really cool. Plants don't have that. So what they did is they actually developed pollen, which is a really specialized grain, not grain, but we call them pollen grains. It's a really specialized little cell structure that actually can be carried by wind and by animals. So that's really cool. So plants came up with, because they're rooted to the ground, they can't move around. They can't just say, oh, hey, plant over there, you're looking pretty good today. I'm going to come pollinate you. No, it doesn't work that way. They have roots. So what they did is they developed a system of wind-borne and animal-borne pollen that allowed them to reproduce pretty easily. Our final solution is that plants actually developed, our problem was that plants couldn't have their embryos on land because their embryos would dry out, their little fertilized egg that's going to develop into a new beautiful plant. It would dry out if it was on land. So plants developed a structure called, wait for it, a gametangia. I know it sounds like a really long word. Gametangia. Gametangia. I would ace a spelling bee right now. And what that was is it's a little support structure for the seed, for the embryo. It actually, it provides nutrients and it provides water and moisture and everything that a little growing plant embryo would need to survive in this harsh, dry, cruel terrestrial environment. There you have it. Those are the plant problems and the plant solutions. Again, if you missed any of this information, you can access it on my Ducks page under notes, under B block for whatever last week was, March something. I don't remember. Cool. Watch the rest of the Prezi. I love you. I miss you.